How's it going, guys? Well, welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to Steinsgate, Linear Bounded Phenogram. Last time we were here, we were having this interesting crisis intersection. Remember, in the original game, this is the day, the previous day was when Okabe and Kurisu really have to realize that the choice is between either Mayuri dying or Kurisu being killed when it comes to choosing the world line they're gonna go for. And the day before was the day with at the Radicon building with the rain and the confessing, but ultimately the choosing from Mayuri. And Mayuri doesn't know most of this stuff that's going on, but she was really worried about Kurisu acting strange. She knows Okabe's acting weird, but he won't talk about it. But they ended up having a spontaneous sleepover at Kurisu's apartment, which has been really, really cute so far. So we're going to dive more into this and see how the next day plays out, because that's the big one. So buckle up, and I guess we're just going to have to jump into just these lovely interactions. I mean, look at these two. Oh, they're so cute. It's so depressing because we know what's coming, dang it, and it sucks. It sucks, but we also know how important it was that things play out the way they do, so let's continue this ride, remember, through the eyes of Mayuri, and we will see how things go from here. So what are we supposed to talk about? Sleepovers never really had a chance to have one.
女子のお泊まり会って言ったら、やっぱり定番なのはガールズトークかな。
Okay, what's that going to entail?
ガールズトーク？なんぞそれ。
I like it because Kurisu looks kind of horrified. Mayuri looks, I don't know, she looks eager. I like it. It's gonna be good.
普段じゃ話せないようなことを打ち明けたりしてね。お互いのことを知ってもっと仲良くなるの。
Yeah, yeah.
普段じゃ話せないようなこと。
Mm-hmm.
たまに吹雪ちゃんたちとお泊まり会するんだけど、実はものすごくレアなカップリングが密かに好きだったとか、衝撃の事実が明らかになってね、結構ワクワクするんだよ。
I like how her shocking conversations with her girlfriends is the unusual ships that she goes with. Oh man. Shipping is pretty fun, but you can only have that kind of conversation with certain people. Refers to romantic pairings of characters. For example, if the character A and character B are in a romantic relationship, they'd be referred to as AXB. Character A is the one being aggressive, where character B is simply the receiving end. Fans affectionately refer to the dynamic as Seme and Uka, respectively, commonly used among Fujoshi. Shipping is a mainstream at this point now, which is kind of fun. But yeah, and also characteristically, shipping is usually people whom you ship either when there isn't a declared relationship, maybe a favorite pairing of yours, or maybe a pairing that's not actually even seeming very possible, but super fun in your headcanon. But it's also if there's a mainstream couple, we all accept that, but then we could say well, I shipped them with this person because I think they would have been a good pair there. You should know this. I don't know why I'm talking about it, but it is really, really fun. I'm trying to think if there's any ships recently. I don't know. I don't get into shipping conversations much, honestly. The only one I can think of that I recently, and it wasn't even that recently, had is with ReZero, which I'm really stoked for the second season. Sad it got delayed, but I'd rather be delayed and the people who were making it kept safe. But everyone was on the REM train, and I totally agreed with it. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm just a follower, but I was super angry when Subaru turned her down, because I was like, fetch, man, she's the coolest character ever. But he also did have very traumatic memories with her in a past life, so I guess that makes sense. And that's an interesting conversation. If you haven't ever watched ReZero, you'd be like, what are you talking about? And honestly, just go watch it.
なるほど。そんなに難しく考えないで大丈夫。まゆしは悩みとか恋バナとか何でもバッチコイだよ。クリスちゃん。
She's honest about her crush. I don't know if you're ready for that. I clap my hands once and stretch out my arms toward her.
そんなこと急に言われても。
Oh, Kurisu. She crosses her arms and seems to get lost in thought again.
悩みか。弱みを人にさらすのってあんまり好ましくないと思うのだけど。
Well, I mean, no, unless you trust them. If they're your friends, then you can. But it is risky, but that's part of what trust is.
そうかな。マユシーは自分じゃどうにもならない問題を解決するきっかけになったりするけど。
まあ、それも一理あるか。今まではどちらかっていうと、弱みをさらせない人たちに囲まれていたから。
Yeah, that's true. That's one of the troubles of being I imagine being a genius, especially someone who's so successful when you're so young, is like, you never really get to have those bonding experiences. I mean, good grief. My wife's a scientist. I don't know if I've explained that before. She's a chemist. I mean, she's not a Kurisu. No. I mean, most people won't ever be like that, but she's very intelligent. She does a lot of good work at what she does, and she's actually, I think, probably one of the best people in her department, because not only does she think things through and have creative solutions rather than just kind of repeatedly hitting the same brick wall, like a lot of her coworkers tend to, but she also has a good head for safety and following protocol to keep others safe and consistent. She's really good at maintaining her journals, which is a chore for most people, but she wants to make sure she keeps her accuracy. And so in a way, I consider her a genius and a specialist in her field, especially because she, the fine nuts and bolts about what makes a scientist is documentation, safety, and proper follow through. And she's got all that. She's fantastic. There's a reason why I fell for her. Well, there's lots of reasons, but those are some of the reasons I do. And I think she and Kurisu would actually get along really, really well. But the problem is that her job is absolutely cutthroat. And that's just the nature of working. And sadly, in the science field, even when it's not all reputation-based like it would be in research, I can't even imagine the backstabbing that happens in research. But even in her sections, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of politicking, which is really unfortunate because, politicking's fine, but people let it get in the way. And there's some pretty crazy layoffs that actually happened recently in her department because people were abusing their power and got caught, and it was bad. I'm just glad that she's so, straight-laced and focused on doing good work, and being successful based on her merit and her skills and what she brings to the table rather than cunning conversationalism, So yeah, Kurisu being in that type of environment and in the harsher one, like I said, of research and development, where any unique idea is just prime real estate to be stolen, I can't imagine it being very easy for her to feel like she could have any friends. And we learned later that she had a friend in Maho, but I don't know if Maho was a character around the time they were writing Linear Bound. I'm sure they had a concept for her, but obviously she hadn't been canonized yet. And even then, she also did feel like she had to be a bit reserved around Maho. So yeah, she's trusting and having a normal relationship is so new to her. Can you imagine growing up and being so so successful that you literally did have to skip making friends?
親にすら弱みをさらせなかったし。
Oh yeah, I feel her parents, her dad.
クリスちゃん。
でも、マユリは違う。
なんだか照れちゃうな。
そうね。マユリはお父さんと仲良しみたいだし、そういう人のアドバイスは参考になるかも。
悩みってお父さんのこと？
それだけじゃなくて、いろいろあるんだけど、何から話したものか。
Yeah, I don't know.
一つずつで大丈夫だよ。クリスちゃんのお父さんのことなら、フェリスちゃんからちょっとだけ話は聞いてるよ。フェリスちゃんもクリスちゃんのことをすごく心配してたから。
フェイリスさんが？私、八つ当たりみたいな真似しちゃったのに。
Oh, come on. You can't be really Like, that's okay.
なんだかクリスちゃんのこと放っておけないんだって。
そう。いい人ね、フェイリスさんって。
Oh yeah, she is. She's a fantastic person.
フェリスちゃんはものすごくいい人だよ。クリスちゃんを怒らせてしまったかもって気にしてたよ。
違うの。フェイリスさんは何も悪くない。私、父親に嫌われてて。でも、それじゃダメだって、仲直りした方がいいって、フェイリスさんに説得されて。
But yeah, because that's the difference though. With Ferris, like, her father loved her, but he didn't prioritize her. And that's something I know, like, if he'd been confronted with it, he probably would have tried to adjust, even though he struggled with that. But her dad does literally hate her. And that's what sucks, is like, you can't control who your family is. A lot of us have good family, and we should cling to those relationships. But unfortunately, some of us are born with crap fam. Like, it's just crap. Like, they can be toxic. That's something that's more common, again, in my family relations. I don't want to get specific, but there can be some toxic relationships for family and close family. And, some, like, you know, like, you don't stop loving people when they're toxic, but you can't let them continue to fester in your life. If they're going to be interfering, if they're going to be interjecting, if they're going to be trying to press their ideals and like opinions onto you and your family and forcing what they think is right against your will and better judgment, then you've got to limit your access. It's just kind of the nature. If they're abusive, they need to go, and they frankly might need so much help it might be necessary to report them. But that's something that you have to make a choice about yourself. But know that there's no crime or problem with cutting away toxic and abusive relationships. But don't be quick to throw away something because you think it's not good. Sometimes we, especially when we're young, we can get confused and think that the oppressiveness of our parents is them trying to control and throttle us, when instead they're just simply trying to watch for us. Parents can be overprotective, and that can be a big flaw. But the love that's there is real. And maybe you go have a disagreement, maybe you need to show them like you're capable of keeping up with yourself and being on your own, but like be aware that there's a difference between toxicity and abuse and maybe smothering love. Smothering love is annoying, but it's not bad. And I think the biggest difference is that even a smothering loving parent will back off if you confront them and just tell them that you need your own space. Like, they'll love you and they'll want to always reach out to you and be close to you, but they will back off. So, you know, it's a tough thing, and no one piece of advice is going to be good for that. I just think the only thing that I would advise is that you keep in mind that some parents are worth holding on to, even if you don't quite see eye to eye with them. But some parents and family need to be cut away, and it's just better for everybody. And it's something that you need to really work out yourself, and maybe with a trusted advisor, maybe a family friend who's watched you grow up, a best friend who you know has your back 110%. You know, don't just trust whoever's willing to listen, perhaps, like with a major decision, but like make sure you can confide in people like Kurisu is here. And while they may not be able to help solve the problem, they might be able to help give you the courage to take a step that you know you need to take.
それで父に電話をかけて謝ろうとしたんだけど、あっけなく拒絶されちゃって。
Max is an a-hole.
で、ガールズトークってこういう重い話じゃなくて、もっと浮かれた話の方がいいんじゃない？
No. Girl talk, guy talk, you know, bro talk, whatever you want to call it. It sometimes has to be serious.
大丈夫。何でもありだから。
そうか。なんだかこういうの恥ずかしいっていうか、緊張するっていうか、慣れない感じね。
Yeah.
続きを聞きたいな。
まあ、それで ついカッとなって飛び出してきちゃったんだけど、今はものすごく後悔してる。
Yeah.
クリスちゃんはお父さんのことが大好きなんだね。
大嫌いよ、あんな人。
でも本当に嫌いなら拒絶されてもショックを受けないよ。
Yeah, that's the kicker, huh? Because like, even if they are toxic, like you still love them, and that's why it hurts so much to know whether you need to cut them out or not. That's why this is so complicated. It's not a decision that can be made lightly, or there's like even remotely a platitude that I can take a stance on, you know?
それは
すぐには伝わらなくても、じっくりゆっくり好きだっていう気持ちを伝え続けていけば、いつか通じるんじゃないかな。メールでも手紙でも何でもいいから。
どうせこの前みたいに拒絶されておしまいよ。
それでも伝え続けてみるのはどうかな。
Mayuri, you say it so well.
そんなの無理。私にはもう時間がないの。
Don't have the time. Those words take me by surprise.
ごめん、マユリ。自分でもこんなのらしくないって分かってるんだけど、どうにもならなくて。
大丈夫だよ。気にしないで。
マユリにまで当たっちゃうなんて本当にどうかしてる。ここのところいろんなことがありすぎて、なんかもういっぱいいっぱいで余裕がないみたい。
I don't blame you, Kurisu. First of all, I think all of us would be at our limit, but I also think it's okay. Like a good friend is someone whom you don't want to take out your anger. There's a difference. Expressing anger and taking out anger are two different things. Taking out your anger is using somebody else as a channel for a target. That can be manifested as abuse of some kind, physical or verbal, but it also can be like when you're upset, you can turn to your friend and you call out their flaws, maybe calling them names or like just expressing like what they do that frustrates you, but like disproportionately like explosive because you're fueled by the anger of somebody else. That's bad. But being able to sit down with somebody and to be able to just be honest with them and just tell them what's on your mind, sometimes just expressing your thoughts brings out that anger and frustration. But she's not targeting Mayuri here. She's not saying like you're a terrible person and you're so ditzy and all this you know? Like, that's not taking out your anger. That's expressing your anger, and that's okay. It should be very okay. God, there's a lot of just interpersonal relationships going on here, and it's all so healthy to talk about because I feel like a lot of us don't really get taught how to do this, and so if you never find that person whom you can like relate with and like express yourself with clearly, and hopefully you have multiple people, but like if you've never had one, like it can be so hard to feel like how do you start that? I mean, I still to this day can't figure out how I made my best friends my friends. Like I can't think of like a single moment. I remember when we met, I remember how we like first connected, but I don't know how we went from like having a mutual love of like a hobby to literally wanting to see each other like every other day and like always talking to each other, and like when drama would happen we would like, you know, help each other out and keep each other sane. And you know, like even now that we're separated by an entire country, like opposite sides, we still connect and still want to spend time hanging out and doing stuff, you know? Like that's cool. And I don't know how it happens. I wish I did, because it'd be nice to be able to know how to do it again.
もうちょっと脳のスペック高いと思ってたのに、
back to
全然ダメ。あっけなく容量オーバー。そんな自分が情けなくて自己嫌悪で潰れそうになっちゃってた。
How do I go back? Okay, there we go. So it's going to be frustrated. Brushing her bangs out of her face, Christian sighs deeply. I actually clicked without going that reading that. But no, Kurisu, you're fine.
人の心にも数式のように明確な解があればいいのに論理的でない感情ばかりが駆け巡って 記号りったらない。
I don't know. I think it's part of the importance of it. Yeah, like mathematics are awesome because you can do so much with it and it can be so straightforward. But even mathematics has impossibilities. They have imaginary numbers. Things that like allow you to continue to move forward and work but functionally have flaws inherent in their concept and that make them difficult to define. Or something simple like pi, you know, it's an irrational rational. Like, it really, from what we can comprehend and understand, there's really not an end to that decimal. But like, even with a partial of the decimal, we can approximate so accurately. It's within like reason to be able to like functionally work with it as a solid number. Like, that's an impressive thing that math can do. And I think emotions are like that. Emotions are irrational numbers. They don't have approximations. You can't calculate them. You can't objectify them. You can't quantify them. Like, you can take personality quizzes, like the 16 personality points quizzes. Like, those are pretty cool, but there's still so much that they leave absent. Maybe like and if there's the stupid color quizzes. I remember my cousins grew up taking those. Like, good grief, they're so vague. It's pointless. Well, it's not pointless, but it's not like it's going to read you right. I mean, personality quizzes are a little better than you using astrology signs, except for the fact that astrology signs are just based on a random date of birth rather than like self-identified personality points. But we also are terrible at reading our own personalities, so like taking quizzes is kind of meh. But at the same time, we can use very imperfect and precise emotions and can gauge and predict activity and predict mental function and choices that will be made based on those. So like, just because they aren't perfect mathematical equations, like they're more like the imaginary numbers of humanity.
くだらないことばかり考える自分の脳みそにロボトミー手術をしてやりたいくらい。
Aww.
マユシーはね、スペックとかロボなんとかはよくわからないけど、クリスちゃん、頭の中が悩み事でいっぱいでごちゃごちゃになっちゃってるってことかな。
そう。
マユシーもそういう時あるよ。クリスちゃんだけじゃない。みんな同じだよ。
Oh, I love that phrase. I think that's some of the most powerful words that you could ever hear. You're not alone. But it has to be in the right context and the right people. Because otherwise it just sounds cliche. It doesn't sound like comforting. But from the right people, and I think Mayuri would always count as the right people, it could be the best.
マユリは私なんかとは違っていつも笑顔だし、誰からも好かれるでしょ。自己嫌悪なんて無縁そうだけど。
Oh, I don't know about that.
そんなことないよ。マユシーは大事な人の役に立てない時や重荷になっている時、ものすごく自分が嫌になるかな。
Oh man, she's been feeling like that this whole time.
大事な人か。それってやっぱりあいつのことよね。
This is definitely okay. This is interesting. This is a conversation I always wondered if they could ever have. I guess they did. I wonder how far they're gonna go because, like, Mayuri at this point isn't quite honest with herself. Even in Zero, she wasn't quite honest with herself about her feelings for Okabe for a while, but she was obviously a little more aware of them. Here, she definitely feels like she's in that kind of like friend zone, self-appointed friend zone. Where she loves Okabe, but she doesn't really understand that. It just feels like advanced friendship, but she's kind of having to confront it. Kurisu, despite her best efforts, has fallen in love with Okabe, and so this could be an interesting conversation.
オカリンだけじゃなくて、クリスちゃんのことも大事だよ。
マユリ。
I'm gonna ask, now's the time. Determined to take a deep breath and ask.
ね、マユシーは二人の重荷になってないかな。
Oh, fetch, man. Oh, fetch.
なんでいきなりそんなこと言うの？ 全然重荷なんかじゃないし。
それならいいけど、オカリンもクリスちゃんもマユシンのことで悩んでいるんじゃないかなって思って、それがマユシンの悩みなんだ。
Oh man.
まさかあいつがマユリに何か言ったの？
Well, smooth, Kurisu. That's exactly how you confess.
オカリンは何も教えてくれなかったよ。だけどいろいろ考えて、もしかしたらそうなのかなって思って。
そう。
Oh, Kurisu, you're bad at this.
やっぱりクリスちゃんはオカリンが悩んでいる理由を知ってるんだね。
Yeah. By the way, anything secret on the phone I need to know about? No.
それは
オカリンがマユシーに教えてくれないのは、マユシーじゃオカリンの力になれないからかな。
Oh, no, Mayuri.
違う。それはあいつがマユリのことを誰よりも一番大事に思っているから、傷つけたくないから、守りたいからよ。
クリスちゃん。
マユリ、それだけは間違えないで。でないとあいつのやってることが報われない。
Oh.
別にあんなキングオブバカ、報われようが報われまいがしたことじゃないけど。
Oh, sure, sure.
本当にバカもバカすぎて呆れるったらないし。
Our words are sharp, but at the same time, they're also very kind. It's interesting. Just like Okarin.
オカリンとクリスちゃんは似た者同士だね。
は？いやあのね、マユリ、よーく聞いて。あんな聞き分け悪すぎるにも程があるバカと一緒にされたら、さすがにへこんじゃうっていうか。
Uh-huh, sure.
似た者同士でお似合いだと思うけどな。
Fetch.
冗談でしょ？あいつと私が？ないない、絶対ない、ありえない。
Methinks thou dost protest too much. Literally. Plus, come on. You guys had that freaking moment in the rain and the freaking Radicon building. Like, good grief.
そうかな。
あんな中二病、誰が。
In spite of her words, Christian's cheeks flush red. I guess she's not a very good liar either.
私なんかよりマユリの方がよっぽどあいつとはずっと長い付き合いなわけだし。
Wow, she's literally mumbling in the like. I love the voice acting. Man, I wish I knew Japanese. I'm sure the delivery's way better if you understand the Japanese and not just the meaning.
オカリンはマユシーにとってお兄さんみたいな存在で、ただそれだけで。
You're also a bad liar, Mayuri. Everyone's bad at lying, but they refuse to just be honest. With each word, it becomes harder and harder to keep speaking. Noticing Miyuri's expression, Christian lightly pulled on my cheek.
マユリ、無理してるのバレバレだから。
クリス
ガールズトークって普段話せないようなことを隠し事せずに話すものなんでしょ？だったら正直に話して。私も正直に話す。
Oh boy. Okay. Kurisu, are you actually going to be honest? We look at each other in the eye and nod.
マユリは岡部のことが好きでしょ？
Can't hide from Christian's intense gaze. Aww. So we finally... Fetch! Fetch!
だけどオカリンはクリスちゃんのことが好きだってことも知ってるよ。
Fetch.
なんでそうなるの？
ずっと見てたらわかるよ。マユシーはオカリンの人質だから、ずっとそばでオカリンを見てきたからわかっちゃうんだ。
Akachan. Akachan. Akachan is child, right? So she's saying like, instead of saying I've always seen him up close, or like I've always like been around him, is she saying like I've known him since he was a child? I think that's right. I can't remember. I think like I'm pretty sure that's right.
それじゃあ今度はクリスちゃんの番。正直に話して。クリスちゃんはオカリンのこと好き？
Fetch. You know, it always is a wonder, like, if people talk about you that way. I really don't think it ever did for me, but, you know, it'd be nice.
私は
Come on.
あんなバカ大嫌い。
Oh, you said you were gonna be honest.
なのに今日あいつが余計なこと言ってきて、そのせいで混乱してるだけ。
Uh-huh. Okay. Christian put her hand in her mouth and shakes her head.
もうごめん。なんかぐちゃぐちゃだ。私の言ってることは支離滅裂ね。
伝わってくるから大丈夫だよ。続けて。
そう。わかった。マユリにはありのままを話す。
I mean, I know all this stuff. I know, but still, it's so good to be like part of this conversation. Fetch! She takes several deep breaths before letting out her breath and saying,
実はさっき岡部に告白された。
Stabbed to the heart for Mayuri. For a second, my mind goes blank. I opened my mouth to try and say something, but I'm at a loss for words. After a while, when I could finally manage to say something, I was surprised at how dumb I sounded. Aww.
そっか。
This is a lot like when Grandma died. Oh, fetch. I don't feel any bitterness or sadness at all. It's like your entire world just kind of dusts away, isn't it? But it feels like there's a gaping hole in my heart.
でも、それは何かの間違いよ。あいつ、相手を完全に間違えてる。バカすぎにも程がある。
Oh, poor Mayuri. Kushan is angry for Miyushi. But Okarin didn't make a mistake at all. I can tell.
それは違うよ、クリスちゃん。
Have you ever been in that position before? I kind of have. Not to this extent. Like, I've had crushes on people, or like been interested in like asking them out and finding out they were interested in somebody else. Like, that's like the story of high school for me. I had a close friend whom I really liked, but who liked me as a friend, and then like, but we were just friends for a while. That eventually turned into a relationship, but like, you know, it didn't mean it didn't hurt watching them like date other people. Feeling that kind of gap, but again, it's like I don't think it's quite on the same level. Like, this would be so much more intense.
だって、マユリのことが誰よりも何よりも大事だからこそ、あいつはどれだけ自分がボロボロになっても、マユリを助けることを絶対に諦めなかったのよ。
Ooh, that's a bit of a detail. Huh?
そして、マユリを救う方法を見つけた。それなのに。
オカリンがマユシを助ける？
Kushan realized that she said too much and clamps her mouth shut.
まったく、本当に今の私どうかしてる。ごめん、マユリ。
Come on.
これ以上は言えない。
You, that's cruel. Come on, just tell her.
話して。
だけど
お願いクリスちゃん、マユシーの知らないところで何が起きているか、マユシーだってちゃんと知っておきたいよ。
I think she's thoroughly earned it, dang it. I look into her eyes and plead.
だけど私も岡部もマユリを傷つけたくない。第一、マユリに私と同じ気持ちを味わわせたくない。
傷ついてもいいからお願い教えて。オカリンもクリスちゃんも傷ついているのに、マユシーだけ傷つかずにいるのは嫌だよ。
I think it's one of those things where, like, I understand the initial want to protect her, but come on, guys. Like, this is too monumental not to tell her. Like, she has a right to know.
楽しい時も辛い時も一緒がいいよ。
マユリ。
Come on. Chris-chan clenches her fist and silently stares at the floor. All I can do is look at her and pray. After some time, she raises her head and looks at me.
マユリ、後悔しない？
覚悟はできてるから大丈夫。
I don't think you're ready for this, but okay.
そうか。マユリも私と同じか。それなら岡部が私に話してくれたように、私もマユリに話すべきね。黙っているのはフェアじゃない。
No, it's not.
これ以上隠し続けても意味がない。わかった。話すわ。
ありがとうクリスちゃん。
Chris-chan stares into my eyes. I can feel the tension. Everything falls silent.
世界線を変えてしまったことによって、このままだとマユリは死んでしまう。岡部はマユリの死を避けるために何度も何度もタイムリープを繰り返してきた。タイムリープはまだ不確定なことが多すぎて危険だって忠告したけれど、あいつはありとあらゆる手段を試してマユリが助かる未来を探し続けてきた。
そんな。
I remembered the nightmares I'd been having lately and gasp.
最近怖い夢を見ることが多くて、マユシーは何度も死にそうになって、だけどその度にオカリンが助けに来てくれて、それでもマユシーは死んじゃうっていう夢なんだけど、もしかしてあれは夢じゃなかったのかな。
Yeah, can you imagine? Can you imagine?
その可能性は否定できない。岡部がタイムリープを繰り返すたびに過去は上書きされてしまう。その上書きされる前の過去が夢という形になって残るのかも。
そっか、あれは夢じゃなかったんだ。
岡部は世界線が変わってしまった原因である D メールを取り消していけば元の世界線に戻れるっていう仮説を立ててタイムリープを繰り返してきた。その仮説は正しいと思う。そして取り消すべき D メールは残すところあと1通。今はチェックメイトをかけた状態。
I don't fully understand what Chris-chan's saying, but I think hard.
オカリンはマユシーを助けるために D メールで変わっちゃった世界線を元に戻そうとしてくれていて、そのおかげでもうすぐ全部が元通りってことなのかな。
Yeah.
ええ。だけど岡部はそこで気づいてしまった。元の世界線では 私がすでに2週間前に死んでいるってことに。
This choice still haunts me. It still haunts me. For a moment, I couldn't understand what she said. No, that's not right. I think I didn't want to understand.
そんなの信じない。信じたくない。何かの間違いだよ。
Okabe roared himself out, trying to get back to the original world line. But in the original world line, Chris-chan is already dead. That's horrible. Too horrible.
マユリ、ラジカンで私が殺されたのなんだの。岡部が変なこと言って騒いでいたこと覚えてない？
覚えてるけど、それはいつものオカリンの設定なのかなって。
私もそう思ってた。でもそうじゃなかった。多分あれは元の世界線で起きた事実。元の世界線ではあの日7月28日に私は死んでいる。
それじゃあ元の世界線に戻しちゃったらクリスちゃんは。
Chris-chan crosses her arms and laughs bitterly.
すでに死んだ人間が存在していると考える方が無理があるわ。死後の世界とか今まで考えたこともなかったけど、多分私は世界から消えてしまうんだと思う。
Yeah. I can't stop shaking. I said I was prepared for the truth, but...
クリスちゃんがいなくなっちゃうなんて、そんなの嫌だよ。何かきっといい方法があるはず。
Chris-chan shakes her head quietly as if to cut me off.
ありとあらゆる手段を考えてはみたけど、導き出されるのは同じ回ばかり。世界線を元に戻さなければマユリが死ぬ。世界線を元に戻せば私が死ぬ。
どうしても？
ええ。岡部も私とマユリの両方を救える選択肢を必死で探してくれた。何度もタイムリープを繰り返してありとあらゆる手段を試してみてくれた。
It's crazy to imagine too, because it's like we understand so much better now through like Zero, but the choices that he can't even do try do-overs because the time limit machine wouldn't exist without Kurisu, so she dies. When she dies in the Alpha World line, effectively they don't have one. Granted, there's a loophole there, but that's covered in the sequel. But oh man, if you haven't played Zero, fetch, make sure you play Zero.
それでもダメだったの。
そんな。
世界線を元に戻すのだって大変なのに、それとはまた別な世界線を探すだなんて無茶すぎにも程がある。世界はそんなにご都合主義にはできていない。このままじゃ岡部が壊れてしまうのは時間の問題。実際もう壊れかけてるし。
Problem is, Kurisu, you dying also destroys him. Mayuri dying destroys him. We saw that in this game. He literally has a breakdown and can't handle reality if Mayuri dies, if he gives up. Kurisu, Mayuri, Okabe just loses. Fetch. That sucks, but that's kind of the truth. Except for the route of Steinsgate, he ultimately loses. We've seen Zero, he can pull through, but still.
当然よね。何をどうしたって自分の大事な人を何度も目の前で殺されるんだもの。壊れるなっていう方が無理がある。とっくに壊れてたっておかしくない。
Yeah. I had no idea that Okarin was so close to his breaking point. Both Okarin and Christian, I had no idea they'd been suffering so much because of me. I felt so sorry that I didn't even have the words to begin to express it.
残酷かもしれないけど、すでに回は出ているのにタイムリープを繰り返すのは決断を引き延ばすための逃げに過ぎない。仮にまゆりがさっき言ってた運命論が正しいとしたら、私がすでに死んでいる世界線が本来あるべき世界線なの。だから岡部はまゆりを助けるべき。そうあいつを説得した。聞き分けなかったあいつだけど、最後は納得してくれた。
I don't know. I think he had agreed to it too. Like, he was just... It's an impossible choice. How can you make that kind of a choice? I don't care who you are, especially with the circumstances. Like, even if they were just both his friends, it would be like an impossible choice. But like, one's the woman he loves, even though he's only known her for, well, in reality a few weeks, but in like his reality it's been for months, if not years. And Mayuri is his best friend from when they grew up together. How do you choose that? How? You can't. You don't. And then you also remember that every time he's had to change the world line, he's had to stand holding somebody who he loves who he loves dearly and who loves him dearly, friendship or otherwise, and has to console them, knowingly dooming them back to the world that they hated for whatever reason. Watching her speak with such a detached tone made me feel as if she might disappear at any moment. I rushed toward Christian and wrapped her body in a tight embrace.
そんなの嫌だよ。
まゆり、
ごめんねクリスチャン。マユシーだけ何も知らなくて、さっきだってひどいこと言っちゃって、クリスチャンが死ぬべき世界なんて、そんなのが決められた運命なんて絶対に嫌だよ。
でもそれが正しいの。分かってちょうだい、まゆり。
It's the difference here that Kudishi's expressing, which I think is like one of the bravest things you could ever see in a person. It's the difference between, like, you know, being in a position where you know you're likely to die and then purposefully stepping into it knowing you're going to do it to save someone's life. She pets Mayushi's head softly as if calming down a child.
正しいとか正しくないとかどうだっていいよ。クリスチャンがいなくなるなんて、そんな未来何が何でも変えたい。マユシーだってそう思うもん。オカリンもクリスチャンもいっぱい苦しんでたのに、それなのにマユシーは何にも知らないで。ごめん、本当にごめんね。
なんでまゆりが謝るの？謝らなくちゃならないのは私なのに。まゆりを裏切りたくない。まゆりにだけは嫌われたくない。まゆりにはずっと笑顔でいてほしい。だから私は。
クリスチャンはマユシーを裏切ってなんかいないよ。いつかこんな日が来るのかもしれないって思ってたし。
まゆり、
クリスチャンはオカリンが一番辛い時にオカリンを支えてくれてたんだよね。
別にそんなつもりじゃなくて、ただあいつがバカすぎて放っておけなかっただけっていうか。
本当に辛い時に助けてくれた人のことなんて好きになっちゃうよ。だってマ ゆしも同じだもん。
When I spoke those words, I finally realized just how much I really liked Okarin. There actually might be some point to that. I don't think it's the crux of all falling in love. I think you fall in love with people no matter what, but I do think that when you feel like you're at your lowest point, the people who are there for you and help pull you out, like, it forges something powerful, you know? Like, you know, I think that's what helped forge the friendships I have into lasting a long time. But I can also think the example of the person whom I liked but who I was friends with for a while, eventually we did date, and I can actually really, like, in hindsight, can pinpoint the change for her, seeing me as more than just a friend. It was when she had her lowest point, felt like her entire world was falling apart, but I was there. And then not only was I there, I did something really weird. I intervened. I think I've covered it before. But, like, I was sitting there as a friend, watching her kind of destroy herself with stress. She blamed herself for a lot of things. She didn't know whether she'd made the right decision, and her friends had kind of turned against her, like friends she'd grown up with, just kind of walked away because they didn't agree with the choice she made for herself. And she was, like, destroying herself. I remember, like it really hit me when she wasn't, like, doing the things that she normally loved, like writing stories. And then she'd had a dentist visit, and she discovered that she might need a guard because she'd started grinding her teeth in her sleep. It was, like, starting to cause damage. She'd never done that before, and only started when her life got super stressful because everything she thought was rock solid in her social life just crumbled away in, like, a weekend. Except for, like, me and, like, 2 other people. And I remember I just snapped at her. It's something I don't normally do. I'm a very chill person, especially high school me. I was too scared to ever snap at people. But I remember I snapped at her. I told her, like, I was like, you're being crazy. You're destroying yourself, and I can't just sit here anymore and let it happen. Like, I just flat out called her out and freaking, like, commanded her. I was like, you're gonna go home this weekend. You're gonna sit in front of your computer. You're gonna bring up a blank Word piece of paper, and you're not gonna leave until you at least write something down. You're gonna write a story for, like, a page. You're not leaving until you do that. And I know you well enough to know that if you can do that and muscle through it, you're gonna feel 110% better. And I remember I walked away from that conversation after I had my little tirade and, like, made her promise me that she was going to, like, focus on the thing that she'd always turned to in her life when she was stressed. And I was like, you were gonna sit and you're gonna make it happen. I remember walking away from that. I was like, she might never talk to me again. I was terrified that I just destroyed, like, a 4-year-long friendship in a swift moment when I had been abrupt and like really forward when, like, she probably needed compassion. Turned out no. It was exactly what she needed. She needed someone to just give her a very friendly and very, like, genuine kick in the pants. And she came back from that weekend with the biggest smile on her face, saying that she had sat down and it took her like an hour or 3 hours or something to write anything down. But once she just started writing like crazy, and she wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And she came back and looked like her world had changed. And she'd been able to work through the pent-up feelings. And did it solve her problems? No. Did it make the drama go away? No. But she went back to herself. And I genuinely think that was like that change where, for her, she saw me in a new light for the first time. So maybe there's something to this. Maybe there is something to, like, paying attention to the people who are, like, in your life, who really give you that push to be so much more than you're capable of. Remember the moment for Okabe, I think, is truly the moment was when he's on the bridge after he had been doing, like, the leaps over and over again. He just sat on the bridge and Kurisu walked up to him, and she demanded he talk to her. He told her it, and she just accepted it. And she's just like, are you really going to just sit there and do this? Like, she gave him that same kick in the pants that I did. I've never made that connection before. That's really interesting. It's funny. So like high school me kind of had me and my like crush had a Okabe Kurisu kind of interaction and kind of like friendship, except more long term obviously, but still. I'm very proud of that fact. Now unfortunately, of course. Well, ultimately fortunately, but unfortunately for the story's sake, it didn't work out between us. Probably for the best. Maybe in some alternate world line it did, but I'm guessing it wouldn't have worked out. In hindsight, again, I changed a lot, and she changed a lot since then. But it's just cool to know that like there is something about being able to be the right person at the right time in a way that's unexpected, but because it's unexpected, it's exactly what you need.
オカリンを幸せにできるのはね、マユシーじゃなくてクリスちゃんだよ。だからクリスちゃん、マユシーには遠慮なくオカリンのことよろしくお願いします。
Oh, you can't do that. I bow my head and think to myself, I'm acting like Okarin's mother or something.
よろしくお願いされたって困るっていうか。もう私はアメリカに帰るって決めたから無理。
そんないつ？
I sat my head up and looked to see her looking in the distance with a pained expression.
明日っていうか、もう今日ね。まだ時間は決まってないけど、日本を立つつもり。
用事ってそのことだったの？急すぎだよ。どうして？
いろいろ考えて、これが相対的にベストな選択肢だと思うから。
オカリンはこのこと知ってるの？
知ってる。
そんな。
これは私と岡部とで出した結論だから変えるつもりはない。もう岡部は十分すぎるほど戦った。私のことを忘れないでいてくれるって約束もしてくれた。私にはそれだけで十分。
He's promised never to forget me.
だからお願い。マユリも分かって。
I think that hits me so hard because that's what I would wish too. That'd be like, if there's no last request, it would be like, don't forget me. Like, let me leave something behind, something that can help people. I don't know. Just let them know I was here. Fetch Kurisu. My tears start to blur my view of her pained smile.
嫌だよ。分かりたくない。マユシーはクリスちゃんを犠牲にしてまで生きてたくなんかない。
私だってそれは同じよ。
We exchange glares, neither of us willing to give in to the other. I'm astounded by the way Kurisu-chan's eyes burn with determination. Her will seems unchangeable. But Mayushi has a trump card. It's one that I'd rather not use. But if there's no other way, I'll have to. Wait, is this her plan from Daru? Slowly and quietly, I make up my mind.
ねえ、クリスちゃんはご縁って信じる方？
ご縁？
うん。ご縁がある人同士はね、どんな世界でも形は違っても絶対に会えるものなんだって。マユシンのおばあちゃんが言ってた。
そうね。科学的な根拠は何一つないけど、今はそう信じたい。
マユシーも信じたいな。きっと生きてさえいればいつかまたきっと出会える。 会いたいと思う人同士は引き合うものだから。
Dang. I say this to convince myself, then I smile at Christian.
だからマユシーはね、まだ諦めたくない。だってマユシーはまだ何にもしていないんだもん。何にもしないうちから諦めたくない。そんなの悔しすぎるよ。
まゆり、その気持ちはすごく嬉しい。だけどもう結論は出てるの。世界線の移動を感知できる岡部にすらどうにもできなかったんだから。私たちには無理。あらゆる手段を考えてみたけど、私たちにはどうにもできない。打つ手はないの。奇跡は起こせないの。
Took me so sure on that.
クリスちゃん、
Maybe Miyoshi's final trump card isn't a trump card at all. Maybe it's useless. But still, I don't want to give up before I try. My feelings won't change.
無理かもしれないけど、無駄かもしれないけど、それでもやらなくちゃ。
まゆり、今なんて？
なんでもないよ。
そう。
Things suddenly feel awkward between us, and I have no idea what to say. Yeah, I can't imagine.
まあ、こういう重い話はこれでおしまいにしましょう。今は1分1秒でも欲しいから。大事にしたいから。岡部がいつ世界線を元に戻してしまうかはわからないけど、こうしてちゃんとまゆりとの約束を果たせてよかった。
ありがとう、クリスちゃん。
こっちこそありがとう。
それじゃあ何を話そうか。
そうね、思いっきり笑えるような話がいいかも。
That'd be nice. Fetch.
じゃあマユシーのとっておきを話しちゃおうかな。オカリンの嬉し恥ずかしい痛がゆい武勇伝。
Oh, that sounds lovely. I'd be whipping out my I've got a saved playlist of funny videos up from YouTube, and I just hit random and just go.
そんなのあるの？ぜひ聞かせて。
あれはオカリンが中学2年生の時だったかな。
Oh boy.
うんうん。
Christian leans forward, eyes sparkling. I want to see more and more of her smiles. So I dig up my funniest memories and start telling her.
それ本当？岡部の中2の頃の中二病って今よりひどかったのね。今でも相当なもんだけど。
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure it was bad.
本当だよ。サインペンで変なマークを右手に書いて、その手を包帯でぐるぐる巻きにして投稿している時期もあってね。怪我してるわけでもないのに変なのって思ってたんだけど。
Oh no. Oh, Okabe.
当然俺の右手の封印がうずくとか言ってたんでしょ。わかります。
Oh, I'm sure he did.
そうそうそれでね。
Oh man. Okabe. When we're talking like this, it feels like the clock isn't counting down the time until Christian disappears. But it is. I feel really impatient, like I need to do something, but I can't do anything until the morning. So right now, I'm just going to keep talking because I want to grant Christian's wish to treasure every minute each second. Fetch. After laughing and talking to Christian all night, we said our goodbyes because we needed to pack for our trip. But that's the end of this episode. Fetch! I didn't get anywhere! I talked a lot though. And, okay, so someone's pointed out something I need to stop doing. Sometimes when I ramble a lot like in these episodes, I tend to apologize. The reason why is because I know I'm not making progression in the story. But many of you keep playing like, why are you apologizing for that? Why are you apologizing for that? And you've got a good point. If you didn't like this stuff, you could go watch this anytime. Heck, you played this on your own. Something I'm adding to it that's different is probably why you're here. So thank you for listening to my ramblings. I guess I get a little embarrassed because I share stuff that's really, it's me, you know? It's personal. And I think that's okay. I'm okay with that. Like, I mean, I electively upload this stuff. I'm perfectly fine with it. But there is a touch of embarrassment there. There's a touch of, like, I'm being very real with these people, and they're probably judging me, and it makes me feel kind of ashamed and embarrassed. But, like, the apology isn't that, like, I'm taking the time so much. Because, again, you could also just skip it if you wanted to. It's not that hard to skip forward until I stop rambling at the camera. It's another reason why I wanted to have this, though. It's like it's a way for you to see when I'm talking to you and see how I'm feeling rather than just hearing my voice. I think that's something that makes this, it's very important to me that I connect with you in that way, even if it's superficial. That's why I tried starting a channel like years ago, but didn't have a good webcam, and I didn't really follow through with it. I think if I'd had a bit better setup and I'd at least tried to do something like this, I would have stuck with it more. But I've learned a lot since then, so I'm glad I'm doing this now. Cause I didn't know about visual novels back then, so probably would have been garbage content, because I honestly don't think I could have done a typical gameplay channel, because I don't have what it takes to do what, like, well, some of my heroes, Mini True Nerd, or Spiffing Brit. A lot of overseas people have caught my attention. Game Grumps are great, but I could definitely never do what they do. Achievement Hunter, you know, all those people, they do great content. I could never even come close to, but I really highly respect them for what they do. Maybe the closest would be Mini True Nerd, but he's also got a great grasp of humor that I don't know if I have, but I like how he's a lot more down-to-earth practical, and he's genuinely good at games. That's another thing, I'm not genuinely good. But I do like being able to share my personal side to this stuff, and so thank you for responding to that and listening to that. I'd love to know if you're comfortable sharing it. Did any of you have kick in the pants moments like Kurisu or I did, or I gave? You know, did you dish them out? Did you receive them? Both? And did they leave to a very strong emotional attachment to that person, potentially like a love interest or a best friend? It'd be interesting to know if there are many other people who had that kind of experience. Maybe even just don't go into detail. Just let me know, like, did you have an experience like that? Like, either being the one who, like, stepped up when somebody was in a crushing moment, or were in a crushing moment and got pulled out by somebody else. I'd love to know that. But yeah, so this is the end of the episode. Whatever Mayuri's ultimate trump card plan is, we're gonna find out next week, and I'm a little scared of it. That sounds terrifying. But I guess we'll deal with that as it comes. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. As always, it's a pleasure having you here. And until the next video, watching me up, see me next. I'll see you there.